Hi, how's it going? I'm Pat.
And I'm Tina, and this is our camper Ivan. We finished building Ivan in May last year, and since that time we've been on 3 big trips. The French Alps last summer, Spain for a good part of the winter, and now we're back in the French Alps again this summer. We've also done a few races and day-to-day things, and we've learned a lot about what's worked, what hasn't worked in that time, and this is a summary of our experiences and what's good and what's not good, what we've changed, and our 13 top tips for off-grid van builders.
So, tip number 1, you don't necessarily need an electrical hookup. We have a mains hookup on Ivan, but we've never used it when we were off-grid. We use it at home for maintenance and for the van build, but never used it when we were on the road. We have solar panels on the roof and a split charge relay, and we find that is more than sufficient for our power needs. We have 200 watts of solar panel and 200 amp hours of battery capacity, and that's generally a good guideline. Equal amounts of solar panel watts and amp hour capacity. We don't have an electrical kettle, we don't use hair dryers, we don't have an electric hob. These kind of things draw an awful lot of power and will kill your batteries effectively. We use gas for all of these type of things. We have a 600 watt inverter because that's what we had when we started the build from an old van. We find that's perfectly sufficient to power our laptop and any other 240 to 30 volt appliances that we need. These days people will tend to go for 2000 watt sine wave inverters, which are fine, but we find ours works just fine, our 600 watt inverter. The kind of things we charge are laptops, lights, pumps, phone charging, that type of thing. And with that setup I've just described, it's more than sufficient. The only issue we've had in the last year is that our split charge relay failed. This is very unusual, but it only cost us 40-50 euros to replace, so not a big deal really.
So tip number 2 is to have a flexible water storage system. We have a 70 litre fixed tank and a 20 litre smaller portable tank, so this gives us great flexibility. If you can't get close enough to your water source to fill directly into the 70 litre tank, you might have to fill up the 20 litre tank and carry it back and forth to the 70 litre and fill it from there. So we use a cheap 12 volt shower to pump from the small tank to the big tank. So that works very well. Sometimes you can be lucky enough to get close to the water source to fill it directly with the hose. And it's something that you're thinking about all the time when you're living off-grid, where to get the water. And we've discovered that graveyards are a good source of taps.
Yeah, graveyards always have flowers, and flowers always need to be watered.
So there's usually a tap.
Yeah.
And this year we've got a longer hose with various different adapters to fit all taps, so it's better again.
Yeah, so far this year we haven't had to use our 20 litre tank
no, we
to shuttle back and
haven't.
forth.
Yeah, so that's good.
So that's it.
Have a flexible water storage system.
That's it. Tip number 3 is be honest about what you're going to use the van for. For example, we built half our van around the size of our bikes. We put a bike rack in the back that extends out, and we built the bed above that, so the height of the bed was determined by the size of the bikes. We really aren't mountain bikers anymore, so last year, for example, we brought them on holidays and used them once. So be honest about what you're going to use the van for. Having said that about the bike rack, it was a flexible system, so we've taken off the bike clamps and replaced that with a shelving unit, so we have lots of storage there instead of the bikes. So that's still good. But be honest about what you're going to use the van for.
Tip number 4 is, where possible, don't compromise on your kitchen.
Yeah.
So we've got a nice sized kitchen with an extendable worktop, which gives us great space for preparing food. And this makes us more inclined to cook, and which we think is all part of having a nice van life and being in your van in a lovely location, preparing a nice meal, which you're not going to be inclined to do if you've only got a very cramped small area to prepare food. We've also got a gas hob, so we don't have to worry about electric consumption, and we've got a very nice storage that we've planned carefully. So for example, we've got holes cut out in the shape of our 2 mugs that we bring with us, and we don't bring more utensils than we need, so the drawers aren't full of junk. And we have a space especially for the frying pan at the bottom, and we've also got, we beefed up the drawer runners.
Yeah, one of the changes we made over the last year was one of the drawer runners failed, so we beefed it up with something, a fully extending solid drawer runner, which means that you have access to all the things at the back of the drawers. It's good for heavy things like bottles of wine, olive oil and so on, so it's worthwhile making things robust. Tip number 5, consider a composting toilet. We've learnt that chemical toilets are horrible to empty. They're fine to use, but I don't think anyone will disagree that emptying them is not a pleasant task. So after a year we decided to build our own composting toilet. It's very simple, very straightforward. You can get your urine separators. We've used a funnel and a suitably sized bucket and a fuel tank, all being square so they fit into the squared cube-shaped drawer that we had. You need to empty the urine tank every day and the solids bucket every few days as and when needed. We find a place in the forest, dig a hole and bury it, so it's ecologically sustainable as well. We're not using any nasty chemicals. So that's tip number 5, consider a composting toilet.
Tip number 6 is to consider a rotating table. We have a table that rotates in and out of the space where we sit, and we find it really useful. So it just gives you more flexibility over the use of the seating area, that if you don't want the table in the way, you can slide it back out to the side, or depending on the number of people, you can position it in and out. We made our own tabletop with a piece of ply, which we covered with a map, which happens to be our favourite part of France, and then a piece of perspex on the top. So it's colourful and unique, and is
and useful.
You can sit and discuss where you're going over a meal.
Yeah.
So that's tip number 6 about the table.
Number 7, go with LPG gas if you can, Autogas. Yes, the initial setup cost, the gas bottle and the regulator and so on, is expensive, but the ongoing running cost is minimal. About €15 for a full tank, and that will last you weeks and weeks. We use it for the stove, for cooking, for the water heating and for space heating. And the space heater also doubles as a handy hairdryer. So yeah, LPG gas is the way to go, I think.
Tip number 8, if you can, position your seating area next to your sliding door. This means that while you're eating your meal, you can sit out and look at the lovely view. Great light comes in because it's a big wide space, which compares to the factory builds, which have a narrow door usually. We find that's more inviting for people to come and have a chat, and it also gives the outside-inside feel.
So tip number 9, keep your van reasonably stealthy. I-Van isn't intentionally a stealth van. We have decals on the side, but it's not blatantly, obviously, a camper van. This means that for off-grid camping we can park pretty much anywhere, in the countryside, in the hills, but also in the middle of the city. We've camped and parked up for the night in the middle of Dublin city, at airports, airport car parks, and with the blackout blinds, the tinted windows, once everything's closed up, nobody can tell that you're inside. So it's a good idea to keep it reasonably stealthy. It just gives you more flexibility.
So tip number 10, if you can, have a fixed bed rather than one where you need to take cushions apart on seating areas and make the bed up. You get a much better night's sleep. We have a proper mattress from IKEA, and it just fits the space that we have, and with blackout blinds and curtains, we have complete darkness and a really good night's sleep.
Yeah.
It just makes your van life comfortable.
Yeah, it does. You're more likely to use it if you have a comfortable
Yeah,
bed.
yeah.
So we're up to tip number 11 now. Okay, this one's for me. I think lighting is very important. So tip number 11 is to think about and design your lighting system carefully. We have in the roof of I-Van, we have 12 LED lights, which might sound excessive, but we have them on two loops, both of them on dimmer switches. So in the interest of conserving our battery capacity, we just turn on the area we're lighting. We've one set over the bed, one set over the kitchen living area. So generally speaking, we only have the kitchen living area lit up. If we're running low on power, we just turn down the lights. We've also got reading lights over the bed, which is really low energy consumption. We have also a little bit frivolous, but we have LED lighting, which took a long while to get right and to install and set up right, but it looks kind of cool when it's working. Also, a recent addition was to put a motion sensor light in our deep storage corner, so that when you open the door you can actually see what's in there. So that was useful. Is that all the lighting? We have a lighting on the side step here as well, which was a later addition, but really wasn't necessary, I think.
No, we don't use it.
Rarely use it, yeah.
So tip number 12, security is important, but it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive.
Yeah, because you're going to have everything you own. In our case, all our climbing gear, when you're travelling on a climbing holiday, you want to be able to leave the van alone for the day and not be worried about it being broken into. So there's 3 points of access to the van: the back doors, the side doors and the front door. So on our back door, as well as all the standard locks, we have a padlock on the inside. On the front doors we have a really simple but effective D-rings on each door, plus a ratchet strap that goes between them. That means they cannot be opened from the outside, even if you have a key. We then seal off the cab from the living area with this slider here. This drops up and down, and then on the sliding door we have an extra security lock that adds an extra layer of security there. So 2 layers of security on each door, so pretty effective. We call that a full lockdown if we're going off for the day.
Well, the other thing you can do is park next to a fancier looking van.
Yeah.
I-Van doesn't look too good, he's a humble chap,
Yeah.
so you can park next to a really posh van. But also we have secret hiding places in the van to store away the valuables.
And when you're building your own van, you can design that into it from early on in the process, so it's actually quite easy to do.
Yeah.
Right, so our last tip is your shower. Keep it simple. You're not going to be spending hours in the shower because you haven't got a lot of water. Simple as that. So we started off with our shower in the corner, right under here. We had a shower curtain, which is hooked up here, but we found that when you put the shower curtain away, it was going to be wet, so it gathered mold and dirt. So we got rid of that. We replaced that with kind of perspex half walls that raised up the level a little bit. That just ended up being faffy. So now we've got rid of that. We just have a shower tub. We have a quick shower. It's a functional, it's not a luxurious soak, and we find it perfectly adequate.
Works really well.
Works well.
It really does.
We could have a shower room, but that would take away from the open feel of the whole van, which we really like. Yeah, so tip number 13, last tip, keep your showering system simple. Yeah. So then, just to finish up, kind of other things we like about I-Van. It's an Iveco Daily 35S12. It's pretty robust mechanically. Yes, we've done 20,000 miles in the last year and a bit, and it's a 2006 van, so things will go wrong, but that's only to be expected. Nothing drastic, thankfully. We do regular servicing, oil checks and stuff like that, so we look after them. So mechanically it's pretty good. It's also not as wide as your factory built motorhomes, and that comes in handy, especially where we parked right now. There's a pretty narrow road leading into this valley. miles per gallon, pretty good. We're averaging about 28, 29 miles per gallon. You can improve that by driving very conservatively. We've gotten 31 miles per gallon if we drive at a 50, 55 miles per hour, and we get a good mileage.
Yeah, and we really like the way we personalised I-Van, which you can do when you're building your own
Yes, you
van.
can. Exactly.
It's just that nice little finishing touch to do a mosaic or a painting.
Yeah.
And a mosaic isn't as hard as you think. It really isn't. Just keep a simple design. We'll add a link to the making, the way we made the mosaic. It's a bit time consuming, but it adds a lovely colourful feature as the backsplash to the kitchen area.
Yeah. Other things that are good, I mean, we've loads of storage. We have storage beside the beds, storage under the seating, we've storage up here over the cab. We have USBs everywhere by the bed, by the kitchen sink here. We also recently added one up front to charge phones and things when you're driving along. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it useful. We enjoyed making it.
Let us know if you've got any questions. We'd be happy to answer.
Yeah. Alright, and don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and all those good things. Alright? Okay, cheers, bye-bye.
Bye.